A lot of the discussions here have been around the health of the global economy and on trade flows. So it was quite fitting that one of the last sessions on this final fifth day of Davos was the US-China-EU triangle. Lots of high-level discussion about economic dependencies between the three blocs and also discussions about where that relationship will go. And one of those panelists was Belén Garijo. She's the CEO of the German company Merck. It's a German science and technology company that's investing heavily in China, and that's something she focused on when I spoke to her here in Davos.
So our core business is making in biopharma is making a significant percentage of our presence, but China is changing as well, right? And is becoming much closer to a developed market. Which is going to be driven by innovation. So we are developing our oncology portfolio in China as well. We are partnering with Chinese companies. We have used each and every opportunity to in-license from very highly innovative Chinese companies. I believe that China is a big promising country in terms of innovation and a growth opportunity for our three businesses.
What does your focus on China mean, though, for your strategy with Europe and other parts of the world?
At this time, we are evaluating how do we evolve our China for China approach and become even more local in China. But we are also evaluating what we call China for global. I am absolutely convinced that innovative companies that have originated in China will have the aspiration to globalize. So we need to understand what it means for us. How can we really partner and benefit from all the innovation that is emerging from China for our global business?
I can't hear you, but perhaps you can hear me. And you'll recall that the big overriding theme here in Davos has been collaboration for the intelligent age, with a particular focus on artificial intelligence. And the Davos set here have been looking at ways to make it all joined up, to have sort of global conversations about AI regulation. But Alexandre Fasel, who is the State Secretary for Foreign Affairs of Switzerland, said to do that, you just need to look back in history.
In the 1860s, when the telegraph was invented, the French called for an international conference to regulate what are we going to do with that technology, the telegraph. Switzerland was had a tiny little diplomatic service back then. The federal state was founded in 1848, so very small diplomacy. And nobody who knew what the telegraph was. So the federal government then asked professors from the Federal Polytechnic in Zurich. They knew what it was because they were engineers and technologists. And so they were disguised as Swiss diplomats and went to this conference in Paris, out of which was created the International Telegraph Union, the ITU, which later became the ITU, the International Telecommunication Union. So technology has always been at the very center of diplomacy. So, and now again, that's what we are living now again. And so we need to discuss how can we cooperate internationally to understand and develop those technologies. We need to work together in order to make sure that those technologies can also be used for the global commons. And we need to discuss how they should be regulated or not. So this is, again, a constant of diplomacy is technology and science.
Well, business leaders here and big thinkers have been highlighting the need to strengthen partnerships to really shape a sustainable and intelligent future. I spoke to Sania Nishtar, who's the CEO of Vaccine Alliance, Gavi, about the power of collaboration when it comes to addressing some of the world's most difficult health challenges.
Within a month of the emergency being declared, we were able to order the largest consignment of vaccines. That wasn't the case when COVID-19 had struck, because months elapsed before the funding was raised in order to catalyze the development of vaccines and place orders for them. So during MPOX, we acted very rapidly. But this is not a time for countries, regional entities, and global institutions to be complacent. We need to make sure that we are completely aligned on what needs to happen when an emergency strikes. There is no room for competitive behaviors. We must put our egos in our handbags. We must learn to collaborate a lot better.
I love that line. I think that's the line of Davos for me. Put your egos in your handbags. But you know, what we've heard about here in Davos 2025 is about the health, an update, a health check, if you like, about Europe's economy and the potential that's there. We've had an insight into what Donald Trump's second administration is going to mean for global trade. We've talked about the opportunities and the challenges when it comes to AI. We've heard that from the United Nations, pointing the finger at big oil in particular, saying that they're backsliding on green commitments. And more than ever, we've heard the voice of the global south. So there has been a lot of insightful discussion, a lot of big conversations, a lot for global leaders and the political and economic elite to think about as they now wind their way back down the mountains and back to their real lives.